The painter threw his paint, filled with paintbrush, at the cockroach, but missed and nailed my aunt in the face. Hi guys, welcome back to the Quora Zone. Today I'll be reading from What's the Weirdest Thing You Saw at a Friend's House? Our next post is from Al Hartman. Back in the mid-60s, I was driving back to work from lunch break, and my car stopped. I tried to get it to run again with no success. I was in a rural neighborhood with several houses on the street. We didn't have cell phones back then, so I had to ask to borrow a phone at one of the houses. I knocked on the door and a woman answered. I told her I broke down and needed to call work for help. I worked for a Chevy dealer, so the tow wouldn't cost me. The lady said it would be fine for me to use her phone and to come in. She pointed to the kitchen and told me to use the phone on the wall. To my surprise, there was a big monkey on a perch in the kitchen. A big monkey! It didn't seem to be very friendly and started hissing at me, showing its teeth. It made me a little nervous. The lady told me not to worry. I made the call to work, and as I hung up, I heard a lady in the front room ask the homeowner, "Does it ever move?" The lady replied, "When he feels like it." I looked into the living room, and there was a boa curled up under a coffee table. I've never seen a snake that big. It had to be 15 foot long. The lady saw the look on my face and told me not to worry, he was a safe snake. I told her that she had some strange pets. She laughed and told me, "My husband has our basement full of poisonous snakes. Would you want to see him?" I thanked her for the use of the phone and hurried for the door. Honestly, that's pretty cool. Our next post is from Charlotte Webster. We went to meet the farmer with puppies for sale and had been chatting generally with the pleasantries at the back of old stable blocks where the dogs lived. Farmer, a very quiet, softly spoken fella, almost awkward in his manner, but lovely all the same. His wife appeared briefly and said hello, and then we decided on buying and were invited to the farmhouse to pay a deposit and agree a date to pick up. We walked through the front door and were told to be careful about not tripping up on shoes in the entrance, then walked inside a dining room with a full-size black mannequin dummy, sporting a wig and sat at the dining table, limbs, heads, and several small puppets, 2 foxes and a badger or similar, hanging from the rafters by wire tied around their necks. The dummy totally caught us all off guard and go, "WTF?" And the farmer said casually, "Oh yeah, sorry, should have moved that." Mind the shoes on your way in, but no mention to the life-size black dummy at the dining table, and the limbs scattered all over this beautiful old farmhouse really tickled us. I think most people were so unsure about him and his wife being eccentrics with a dark sense of humor, but once they realized, they were massively impressed with the puppets and limbs scattered everywhere. But they relaxed and told us about plays they write. Our next post is from Nate Gerard. When I was in high school, a good friend of mine would have us over to his house, and he never offered us anything to eat or drink. He'd regularly make tea or eat some cookies, but never asked us if we wanted any. At the time, I thought this was pretty strange since every friend I ever knew had offered food or drink at their house when I was over. Years later, I finally asked him why he had never offered anything to us when we were over at his house. He told me his parents had grown up during the Great Depression, so they gave him a specific amount of food until the next trip to the grocery store. If he used it up, he would go hungry, so if he gave any to us, he wouldn't have enough to eat until his mum went to the grocery store. His parents had a reasonable amount of money, a house that was paid off, investments. They didn't spend much on themselves, so it wasn't like they made him have less so they could have more. They just rationed his food, and to this day, I think that's crazy. Our next post is from Joanna Johnson, and a Ouija board nailed to the front door. Seriously? This wasn't a friend of mine. Rather, it was an acquaintance I knew, a man who worked at a local coffee shop that I used to frequent. There used to be spoken words nights there, and I would often hang out there to do a spoken word or meet other people. Anyway, he had a party, and invited a bunch of us to come over. So we're hanging at his place, and I noticed that he had a Ouija board nailed to his door. It kind of creeped me out. I honestly believe that playing with a Ouija board is dangerous. Anyway, I forgot the reason he gave us to why he had it nailed to the door. It was on the inside of the house of the front door. I think it was the front door. But I've always wondered if he used it as a beckoning to let spirits in or something. I had a really weird feeling being in that place. I was only there once, but I would definitely not go there again because of it. Our next post is from Tracy Greenwood. I worked with a guy who was married to an alcoholic. We went to his place for a barbecue one weekend, and his wife got drunk. She started to have mood swings and offered to hypnotize him. She came over to him, dancing and waving her arms around him, telling him to think about the moon and the stars. He just smiled, as if this was completely normal. She then went to the bathroom and came out full of remorse. She apologized for getting drunk and tried to tell us she never drank. We changed the subject, but she kept insisting that she never drank. The next week at work, he told me that she had an automotive accident and had to take pain medication. I was not convinced because she was just fine until she started to drink. In fact, I thought people should not drink while on pain medication. He kept inviting me over, but I didn't go to any more barbecue parties at his home. Our next post is from Pamela Muir. Two painters painting the inside of my aunt's house when a super giant cockroach tried to attack one of them up on the ladder.
What's that?
The painter got spooked and spilled a bucket of paint all over this fancy carpet her house has. And when the painter tried to clean the mess and get back to the painting, my aunt came home and that same giant cockroach attacked her. Thinking my aunt might need some help, the painter threw his paint filled with paintbrush at the cockroach, but missed and nailed my aunt in the face. My aunt, horrified at what just happened to her, picked up the paintbrush and then threw it back at the painter. He flipped her off and she fired both of them, and her carpet has never come clean, and now a bunch of super giant cockroaches are living with her. And she is flipping out. Don't painters usually have this thing on the floor, or that whole room, so they don't get it all dirty? Alright guys, that's all from the Quora Zone today. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories once again. And if you guys have any of your own stories, you can put it in my email, which is right here, and I can post it onto my channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.